In this video, we're going to update our request struct to add on a mapping called approvals. This mapping is going to be very similar to the approvers mapping that we added as a state variable to our contract. Approvals is going to track whoever has voted on a given request. So every instance of a request struct inside of our campaign will have its own separate approvals mapping. It'll have the same exact internal type as well, where the keys are addresses and the values are booleans. So let's give this a shot. Back inside my remix editor, I'm going to find my request struct, and then underneath the complete flag right here, we'll add on two new fields. The first one is going to be a uint that keeps track of the number of yes votes that this request has received. So we'll say approval count like so. Notice that we're not going to keep track of the no votes here. In truth, the no votes don't really matter for us at all. The only thing that really matters is the number of approvals. We're going to eventually make a check to say that, hey, are there a number of approvers that are greater than, say, 50% of the number of approvers who are in the contract? So if this thing gets an approval count of over 50% of the approvers, then we're going to say that the request is valid and should be approved. Then immediately after that, we'll create the mapping that is going to keep track of whether or not someone has voted on a given request. So we'll say mapping, address, the arrow, bool, and then approvals, like so. Now the name approvals right here is not the clearest thing in the world, I think. This might be able to use a little bit better naming than approvals, just because it kind of conflicts with approvers down here. I called it approvals to say, hey, these are the people who have provided approvals of this request right here, but maybe we could rename this to something a little bit more reasonable. Okay, little misclick there. So now that we've got this mapping, we can start to work on our approve request function. So let's take a quick pause. We're going to come back in the next video and we're going to start working on that function.